Once we got there in Dayton, all of these things that you can see, the chicken coop and the big barn and the place where the cows are out there on that picture, were all there. But the spud pit, um, why can't my finger work? Anyway, you can see the spud pit wasn't there at the time. So one of the first projects we had was to build that thing. So what we had to do is take the little Dodge ton-and-a-half truck, take the bed off, put a fifth wheel in the back of it, and get some trailer wheels, took it up into the mountains where there were people cutting timber, and they cut logs and rolled them up on the truck that we made available for them to put it on. The only trip that I took with my dad in that situation was a very interesting one. It was a very dangerous one. And it's so important to understand what it is you're getting into before you get into it. Because once you're into it, sometimes you have no control. But there we were at the tops of the mountains, a loaded truck, and it was only a little ton-and-a-half. And we started coming down out of the mountains on this old dirt road on the dugways. And with dugways, you have hairpin turns. And so you have to slow way down, take a wide turn, get around it, and then go down another, half mile or whatever, and then turn again to the left and then to the opposite way. Well, as it turns out, these logs were not clamped down as well as they might have been. And so when we got close to the hairpin turn, we had to push on the brakes pretty hard. Now, there were no air brakes, and the back wheels didn't have any brakes going to them. They were just coasters. And so lo and behold, the logs, every time we stepped on the brakes hard, the logs would slide forward. Pretty soon the logs were against the cab. And pretty soon it started to dent the cab. And we just knew, or Dad seemed to know, that if we kept pushing on the brake one more time, maybe two more times, and it would just push the cab right off and shear our heads off and slide right over the hood of the truck. And so he very carefully slowed as best that he could. And those logs just kept inch by inch, just slipping just a little bit here and there until it bent the back of the cab pretty bad. And finally, we got around that thing. We went around it awfully fast because we could not afford to push on the brake. And the last stretch was a long stretch right onto the highway and onto home. So we made it, but not without a lot of praying and hoping, and with a dad that really, really was sweating too. And we finally made it, and we were certainly grateful because there's nothing worse. Nothing. I promise you, there's nothing worse than having your head shaved off.